Hey YouTube, it's Jamie, smoking in my car. Smoking my Peterson Aran 6 straight billiard. And in it I have GLP's Telegraph Hill, which, I don't know, it's not great for me. I mean, I think it's a straight Virginia. I don't have the tin right here. I just put it in like an empty tin to go. But like I grabbed some out of a jar and put it in a sort of a travel tin. It's not doing much for me, to be honest. I think it's a straight Virginia. Maybe yellow, red, orange, who knows. But it's just kind of bland, to be honest. And I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to make it through this jar or through the tin. A little wet, too. But it's humid here today, so my tobacco isn't drying as quickly. Yeah, Telegraph Hill. I don't know. Anybody like it? Let me know what you think of it. Or, I mean, I just think it's just like, I'm not getting like high grassy hay tones. I'm not getting bready, yeasty. I'm not getting any of the things that I actually like. It's not sweet at all. In fact, it's actually a little like bitter, kind of. It's a little bitter, kind of acrid tasting. I like sweet Virginias, you know, a sugary kind of note. Or like that sun-dried tomato type of tangy sweetness, like you get in like I get in Capstan Blue. You know, I think that's delicious. Could it be because it's a ribbon cut? Telegraph Hill is a ribbon cut. I don't know, but I don't experience that with like Stratford or Elizabethan. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not trying to do a review here. I'm just not totally excited about what I'm smoking today. I wanted to talk a bit about movies. I used to watch a lot of movies, and now it seems like it's so rare. I still have my DVDs, a lot of my DVDs, but it's just I almost never have time, you know, to put together an hour and a half or 2 hours to dedicate to watching a film. That's kind of a rare occurrence these last 10 years. In my life, anyway. I used to really enjoy, you know, the cinema. But, and I used to go a lot. We had a nice art house cinema here in Phoenix, downtown, called Film Bar. It was a small little boutique cinema and bar, and it was a great little place. It didn't make it through the pandemic, though. That ruined it. It was in full swing. It was doing so well, but they just couldn't weather the storm. But they were good. I remember seeing The Room there. They used to show The Room like once a month or something like that, because if you've ever seen The Room, it's an interactive kind of, it's almost like a Rocky Horror Picture Show kind of thing. you know, the crowd like interacts, and there's certain things that they say in response to the dialogue in the film. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Tommy Wiseau, that was the guy's name. The director, sort of creator. It's, in fact, you know, a lot of people would say it's a terrible film. I liked it. But I like a lot of bad cinema. You know, like I love those 60s Hells Angels films, the AIP Hells Angels, like biker exploitation films. I love those, like Hells Angels on Wheels, Hells Angels in Vietnam, Angels Forever, Glory Stompers. I mean, there were just tons of them. I really like those. And the, like, LSD hippie exploitation films from that same period, like Psych Out. What were some of the, you know, Jack Nicholson would be in them, Bruce Dern, Dennis Hopper, you know, kind of Easy Rider kind of stuff. Hippie, biker, 60s LSD exploitation films. Those are great. And I love like early 60s slasher and mid 60s like splatter films, they would call them. Herschel Gordon Lewis was my favorite director. He did Blood Feast, 10,000 Maniacs, Color Me Blood Red. Just really cheesy horror films that I used to love. One of my favorites was called Blood-Sucking Freaks. Then I went through a sort of highfalutin arty period where I was watching a lot of Rainer Werner Fassbinder, this German avant-garde sort of director. Alejandro Jodorowsky was another one. He did The Holy Mountain and El Topo. Like avant-garde sort of art film things with alchemical kind of symbology in it and stuff. That's what Jodorowsky, he used a lot of tarot imagery in his like cinematography. And then of course I loved Akira Kurosawa and those samurai films. Yojimbo, I think, was my favorite one. That's basically, you know, a lot of those Akira Kurosawa films get the plots and story arc get repurposed as spaghetti westerns. Another great genre that I love. Like Hang 'em High, for example. I think it's Hang 'em High, or Fistful of Dollars is directly based on a Kurosawa film. Magnificent Seven is directly based on The Seven Samurai. In fact, there's a lot of those motifs in like Star Wars. Star Wars has a lot of Kurosawa about it. This hero's journey kind of story arc, and this sort of like, you know, just that whole sort of narrative is very Kurosawan, I suppose you might say. Yeah, and I liked, speaking of Asian films, I really liked Shaw Brothers Kung Fu films, like Five Deadly Venoms, you know, those long-haired Kung Fu films, the 70s ones. I really loved those. I used to watch those every week on Channel 5 out of New York City. They would have drive-in theater, it was called, and it would be like Saturday or Sunday, like around 11 o'clock a.m. And they would always either show like Godzilla, King Kong, or like these Shaw Brothers Kung Fu films. That's where you get Wu-Tang Clan and all that stuff. I'm sure those early hip-hop people in New York City, like in the Bronx and stuff, were watching that same drive-in theater, because that's where they got all their stuff, you know, the Wu-Tang stuff and the Manchus and stuff like that. I like David Lynch. My favorite film of his is Wild at Heart. A lot of people like Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, stuff like Blue Velvet was great. But my favorite is Wild at Heart with Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern. What else do I like? Citizen Kane. I know everybody says it's the greatest film ever, but that's because it's pretty much the greatest film ever. Citizen Kane, Orson Welles. I mean, how do you get better than that? I mean, it's really a fantastic film. Yeah, a lot of, I like 80s horror as well, like slasher. But not as much as 60s splatter. Yeah, and then I had my time with, Jean-Luc Godard and some of the French stuff, and Fellini, Federico Fellini, Italian director. Bunch of good, La Dolce Vita. Yeah, I don't know. I got to start watching more films. I've got a bunch of DVDs, some of which I've never even watched, right? But then, mainstream films like Taxi Driver, I liked a lot. The Godfather, kind of the first couple of those. You know what I think my personal favorite film of all time is? Kubrick's Paths of Glory. It was called Paths of Glory, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Had Kirk Douglas in it. I think that's my favorite. I literally get misty-eyed watching that film. It's so rare for me, but What's your favorite film? What do you like? Leave it in the comments.